Hey everybody, I'm Johan, back with another story. So, two things. I made two shorts earlier, pretty much the same video, changed a little bit, and they both disappeared. I could only speculate, but that's okay. On this channel, we don't panic. We don't get dramatic. So I'm going to try to integrate into this video what I was talking about on that video, because those two videos that disappeared have something to do with the topic of this video, which I wasn't aware of at the time. In other words, when I made those videos earlier, the ones that disappeared, there was something going on. I didn't find out till later. I mentioned sometimes I'll see news clips and I'll watch them to get some information, and that's it. And number two, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe three, I made that video, nuclear war, drones, and spirituality. Well, turns out now, this is kind of like a relative to that. Terrorist attacks and spirituality. Terrorist attacks and spirituality. So what do I think about what's going on today? Well, I served in Beirut, Lebanon in the Marine Corps, so a lot of experts point to that, what happened there, October 23rd, 1983, is the first terrorist attack against Americans. So I watched short videos about what went on in New Orleans and then what's going on in Las Vegas. And I watched another one that said 7 hours ago a man was arrested in Virginia by the FBI with hundreds of bombs in his house. Not much details. I'm just gathering information. We live in chaos. More chaos than ever before. I kind of want to go back and talk about our ancestors, and that chaos was minimal. Sometimes horrific, but it was minimal. What they did thousands of years ago. I watch a channel out of Finland, I think it is, or Norway, and I don't even remember what the topic was, but I left a comment to the effect that modern man and women, modern man is at his apex of peaceful existence. It's almost like, so referring back to ancestors and how they lived, and then there were improvements, there were advancements, they started to live in homes, but they had an outhouse, okay? Then there was indoor plumbing and electricity, air conditioning. You didn't have to make your food on a fire outside. They invented stoves. You have refrigerators. These things. You don't have to sweep your floor with a broom. You use a vacuum cleaner. These things. At some point, let's call them inventions. At some point, common sense inventions were at their apex. However, albeit nonetheless, if you live in a capitalist society or somewhat capitalist, but there are businesses, they need to think of ways to make more money. So the oven wasn't enough. So then there was the microwave. Then there was an air fryer. I have an air fryer. I don't have a microwave. Are you following me? Okay. And in that comment I made on that channel in Norway, from Norway, I was talking about these things. So keep in mind where we're at so far. I believe there was a point when common sense inventions to improve our quality of life ended. Common sense inventions. But that wasn't enough because these people, these companies want to make more money. And you're working for it, and you're handing it over for what I'm about to describe as amusement products. Amusement. Therefore, amusement. What does this have to do with what's going on, Johan? Well, it has something to do with the title. So just follow me, please. If you watch my videos, I get there. I don't plan what I'm going to say. I have a title, maybe a sentence or two how I'm going to start out, and then here we go. These devices that are out now, like Alexa and those devices, excuse me, when I was at my sister's house on Christmas Day, she had one, and I was just like fascinated, because you could say play this song and it'll play a song, all right? I would love to have it so I could ask it for information rather than me searching on the phone, Googling things to expand my knowledge. But I don't want one. I've heard the horror stories. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. I'm not going to take a chance. But I hear stories about what you could do with this Alexa. So you have all these gadgets in your house, more than our ancestors had, and some of them are necessary. I'm not saying it's bad. But, however, albeit nonetheless, it went past common sense products and products for entertainment. And I say entertainment because they take a lot of activity that you would have to do with something, let's say primitive, a primitive device, stove, when you could just throw it in a microwave, let's say. To me, that's like entertainment. And all those freaking beeps, right? I like the air fryer, so I don't have to turn my oven on. To make foods for myself. Well, that's a lie. I usually share meals with my dog. But now I'm hearing stories about this Alexa, where you could connect your home security to it. You could tell it to turn on your lights. That's all I needed to know. I could only guess. You could probably connect it when you're in there watching TV or playing your video games. Alexa, have the refrigerator make ice cubes. Are you following me? Alexa, turn on my TV. Alexa, turn on the light in the bathroom. Alexa, flush the toilet. Alexa, pay my online bills that I use with electronic bill payment. These things. Ever hear, maybe you watch a TV show or you were in court and a judge says, you're out of order. Out of order. That's where we're at in the world. It's out of order. Chaos. But let's stick to out of order because we're advancing now with this discussion. You're out of order. The world is out of order. Oh. Quite frankly, for the most part, there is nothing we could do about it. Once in a while, I watch military documentaries about upgraded weapon systems. You would not believe. It's insane. It's insane. The latest jets, the latest nuclear bombs. It's insane. So getting back to these companies who needed to make money, so these common sense items, we had to think of something else to get people to buy our products or be more lazy. It's all about greed. 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 Now, you could go back, way back into time. And there were no boundaries. Pretty much no boundaries. 2,000 years ago, maybe 3,000. There were no boundaries. And for many reasons, groups of people that lived here would raid groups of people that lived here. And it was happening all over. My ancestors were Vikings, Danes. Their ancestors were the Germanic tribes. And those Germanic tribes, my ancestors as well, had to deal with the Roman military invasions. The Roman military, they were ruthless. So this has been going on. And it's out of order now. So now, I don't know when they decided to call this United States, that Europe, there's the continent of Africa, there's South America, that's China, that's India. So at some point, these were like designated borders. Borders are kind of like boundaries. Boundaries. And if there's one thing I could say today, close to me or somewhere out there in the world, not just people, not just towns, not just cities, not just states, but countries do not respect other countries' boundaries. There are countries that do not respect other countries' boundaries for a lot of reasons. There are groups within these countries that know no boundaries. They have an agenda. Typically, when we're talking in the Middle East, it's about religion. And those various religions over there have agendas. I think some of them what's the word I'm looking for? Are legit. Some of them are legitimate. And a lot of times over there, you'll hear these groups or government representatives from different countries say, well, it wasn't that way till 1,000 years ago. Well, it wasn't that way till the United Nations stepped in the early 1900s. What about now? What about now? And I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. And what I'm trying to get at, what about now, is there's no negotiations to resolve the disputes. None. That's what the United Nations was supposed to do. But it's chaotic. It's out of order. And nobody, take that back, a majority of these individuals, groups, countries, government leaders don't respect anybody's boundaries or the new boundaries that this country drew 50 years ago. This country was here. India, for example. India was split up into religions. Hindus lived here, and then those that followed Islam, well, they put them in Pakistan. And the British and the U.S. were involved in the Middle East as well. And divvied up countries. Foreign countries said, this is the boundaries we're making for your country. A lot of times with bad motives. The same thing's happening in Syria. I watched a little bit of that. But now there's 3 or 4 countries going in there, maybe 5, and they're divvying up Syria for themselves. Foreign countries. It's chaotic. It's out of order. Look, here's a true statement to a great degree. We're never totally safe. You're not totally safe in your house. You're not totally safe when you walk across the street. You're not totally safe when you drive your car. Do I have to explain it? You could have bad wiring in your house and it burns to the ground. You could get in your car and somebody could hit you. You could walk across the street and get hit by a car. These things. In reality, we are not ever totally safe. You might go outside and catch a cold. So, not being safe is at a whole new level. Not being safe is at a whole new level. I was just talking about this to my 90-year-old mom. She's in assisted living. We were talking about it, and she keeps asking me, when we discuss briefly, I want to say the world changed, but I could hear my grandmother saying, Johnny, used to call me Johnny. I could say the world changed, but I could hear my grandmother say, Johnny, it's not the world, it's the people in it. But my mom keeps asking me, everything changed, but when did it start? When did that happen? Like it's worse now than it ever was. I noticed I got like 25 views on that video I made earlier today about Sadhguru's predictions for the future. No likes. Or maybe one. No likes. You didn't like it. I'm pretty sure I could guess. You got to the part where, I don't know what they call them in Islam, but you got to the part where the Muslim preacher was preaching and you were like, fuck, to hell with this. And you missed the whole point if you didn't watch the video to the end. Because it's kind of like what we're talking about now. Out of control, chaos, lack of critical thinking, arguing, debating over nonsense. But authorities, whether it's local level, state level, federal level, authorities that govern countries like United Nations, World Health Organization, the World Bank. I don't know if I could say they're more corrupt than they were a long time ago, or the corruption is more obvious. And I think that's the true statement, because maybe they were this small 30 years ago, but now these organizations are massive and global. And they don't care to hide their corruption. What happened to the drone scare? What happened with all of that? I don't know. I really don't care. If you're a critical thinker, I could stop this video right now and you'll get something out of it. I'm not saying you're going to agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me. A long time ago, when I first started making videos, a long time ago, my nephew left a comment on one of my first videos and he said, "Uncle John, these videos really make me think." And I'll share my experiences. I'll make comparisons. Things like this. On a smaller scale, thousands of years ago, you weren't safe outside your village. If there were predatory groups from another village nearby, or a group from another tribe that you had a beef with 6 months ago, okay? So if you went outside the boundaries of your village, you could run into one of those enemies and it would probably end badly. It didn't change except in one way. It's more massive now, and more people are involved. It's at the point that these propagandists on 24-hour news channels, and I don't care which political group you're from, or you relate to, or you represent, your side is making statements to cause aggression to the other side, and the other side is making statements to cause aggression to that side. Follow me? And then things get out of control. So, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in that video, Nuclear War, Drones, and Spirituality. Stop watching 24-hour news channels for hours and hours and hours at a time. I mentioned this before. I just have internet and a Roku box. Excuse me. I get my news on YouTube. I could pretty much read the title of a news video and say, okay, that's all I need to know. And I mentioned this before. And I mention it because I used to do it. Like today, with these things going on, these terrorist attacks, if that's what they are. These terrorist attacks, if that's what they are, because, I say that because there's this old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Do with that what you will. But what I used to do was I had maybe 20 subscriptions on YouTube, and a story would come up and this guy or this woman on her channel would talk about it, the news. Then I would go to another channel because, they're talking about it now. I got to see what they have to say. And I could sit there and say, they're showing the same clips. That's all right. I want to see it again. It's exciting. I got to be entertained. I don't do that anymore. So don't do that. I'm going to get to my point here shortly. You could prepare for certain things. All right? Have at least 6 months to a year's supply of food on hand that has a long shelf life, including water or a way to collect rainwater. Alternative heat sources, because if the electricity goes out, okay. You could do these things. Have stuff to defend yourself. Get it? That's pretty much all we can do. But you don't understand, Johan. We're scared. I'm scared. I hate to draw this at this time, but, we heard it. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Most things we fear, this is a truth from ancient mystics. Most things we fear never happen. It reminds me of what it says in the 23rd Psalm. You don't have to be a Christian to know this. It's been blasted all over the place on pictures, images on the internet. We used to have t-shirts. Well, it had something to do with the 23rd Psalm, but then it got a little vulgar. I fear no evil because I'm the meanest mother in the valley. That was on t-shirts in the 70s. But you've heard it. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Remember when I said, to a degree, we're never safe. We're not safe in our houses. We're not safe outside. We're not safe when we go on a trip. To a degree, we're not, because those things could happen. Remember I mentioned that it was a much smaller scale, but if your tribe, your clan had enemies, it wasn't safe to go out in the woods for a walk, or maybe to visit another tribe 20 miles away, 10 miles away, because you might run into the enemy. All right? But now it's on a much grander scale. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I will fear no evil. Do you mean it? Or are you just saying it? Do you have fear? Do you have a lot of fears? I'll catch you in the next video, hopefully. Johan out. Peace.